The punitive state and the case for a humane alternative. Our approach to changing social behavior has stagnated into a cycle of autocratic control, relying on the same old punitive measures. This is particularly evident in economic policy, where we witness a harsh, coercive strategy aimed at compelling public compliance. The housing crisis, for instance, was met not with solutions, but with displacement, making applications more difficult and moving rough sleepers out of sight. This does not solve the shortage, it merely renders the resulting hardship less visible, often exacerbating the very problem it claims to address. This one-size-fits-all punitive logic permeates the system. Benefits are withdrawn from vulnerable individuals who cannot provide sufficient evidence of job seeking, creating a catch-22 of poverty. Those who cannot afford fines face escalating charges, plunging them deeper into debt. Congestion charges function not merely as traffic management tools, but as blunt instruments to force behavioral change, regardless of individual circumstance. Within this system, genuine victims of illness or misfortune are often dismissed. Their plight is cast aside by a right-wing nationalist rhetoric that labels compassion as wokeness, forcing them to confront a brutal reality with little support. This brings to mind Plato's allegory of the cave: the promised light of prosperity and order is an illusion for many. Consider the ex-prisoner, officially released into society, only to find themselves imprisoned anew by stigma, systematically barred from housing, healthcare, and a chance at rehabilitation. This exclusion has intensified under a government that champions private corporate interests. As voluntary and NGO funding is diverted to the private sector, the vital pathways to rehabilitation vanish. The consequence is a system where a person in need may literally die waiting for treatment they cannot afford. This is not merely policy, it is the privatization of democracy itself. A government of the people, by the people, for the people is inverted into a mechanism that appropriates public wealth for private profit. When an individual cannot pay a fine, the punishment can accumulate until they lose everything, a modern-day debtor's prison. It is fair to conclude that this punitive system is actively driving people into the ground. This represents linear capitalism in its purest, most unforgiving form, humanity reduced to mere material units, valued only for its capacity to generate profit. However, capitalism is not inherently devoid of compassion, its human face emerges when governance is humane. That humane system is socialism. Unlike the punitive model, socialism seeks to change the circumstances that create dependency and suffering. It addresses illness, mental health crises, and poverty not as personal failures, but as social conditions to be remedied. Its goal is rehabilitation and the strengthening of social networks, empowering individuals to live freely, not as subjects forced by regulation. Socialism actively works to rectify historical inequalities, the dark reality of colonization that continue to disadvantage people based on ethnicity, gender, skill, age, and socio-economic status. Furthermore, socialism's human-centric ethos extends to our environment. It champions a green energy transition, recognizing that the health of our planet is integral to the well-being of its inhabitants. There is growing doubt that this harsh, stark linear capitalism can sustain itself, as it frequently faints into pure nothingness, leaving social wreckage in its wake. And it is in these gaps that the principles of socialism are already in place, quietly and diligently picking up the pieces. Description. This text presents a powerful critique of the modern punitive state, arguing that our systems of governance and economic policy have devolved into autocratic mechanisms that use punishment and coercion to manage social problems. It illustrates this with examples from the housing crisis, welfare benefits, and the justice system, showing how these approaches often exacerbate hardship and inequality rather than providing solutions. The piece condemns the rhetoric that dismisses compassion and the privatization of public services, which it argues inverts democracy into a tool for private profit. Ultimately, it posits that this linear capitalism reduces humanity to a mere economic unit and offers socialism as the necessary humane alternative, a system focused on rehabilitation, addressing root causes of inequality, strengthening social networks, and integrating environmental stewardship.